So today here at Winning Strength, we're going to talk about special strength needs for tactical. And the reason that this is important is we tend to have two different sides of the ball. We have people that think all cardio and people that think all weightlifting. And in reality, both of them are wrong. But what we have to do is find the middle, and today we're going to dig into that. The first thing that we have to understand is that resistance changes everything. And what does that mean? That means doing stuff in tennis shoes is not necessarily going to help you very much when you go into a tactical scenario. Let's take a look at this for a second. The average fire guy, okay, he is going to be carrying about 50 to 70 pounds of extra weight on him personally. So what does this mean? This means when a guy goes into a fire and weighs 180 and he's carrying, let's say, 70 pounds, he's going to weigh 250 pounds coming into that fire. Okay, now we have to look at the average body weight of most people. The average body weight of most people now is between 185 and 220. And let's be honest, a 220 pound guy is not a big guy anymore, and a 185 pound girl is very common at the Krogers. Okay, so the point is, we go into a fire, this guy already weighs 250, and now he's going to have to lift somewhere between 185 to 220. That is, on top of all of that, 470 pounds. So if this person has to drag 1-to-1 ratio in a fire out, he's going to be carrying 470 pounds to get a 220 pound person out of a burning fire. How many of us are that strong? The answer in the tactical community is not very many. And that's the biggest problem. With the fire service, you're talking about guys that weigh around 200 pounds. They're carrying 70 pounds in, and now they're running on people that are on average this weight. And this is why maximal strength becomes such a huge component. If I just have physical fitness in the general term, meaning I can walk on a treadmill for 4 miles, or I can do a light jog for 2 miles, when I get to the fire, and then this is what I have to carry, that cardiovascular training is going to be worth nothing. Because one, I might not even be able to kick down the door, and two, I'm definitely not picking up anybody one-on-one and getting anybody out of anything. So maximal strength becomes a huge component. In a military scenario, an airborne guy is going to weigh around 180 pounds now, okay? He is going to be carrying in a real battle scenario, if he's getting dropped off to fight a real war, he's going to be carrying somewhere around 100 pounds of gear. Let's think about that for a second. This person jumping out of a plane is weighing 280 pounds. Now, how fast are they falling? Well, with the new T-11 parachute that has been registered to the Army, they are falling at about 1.5 meters per second, give or take a little bit. When they hit the ground weighing 280 at that speed, they weigh roughly 500 pounds when they hit the ground. Let's think about that for a second. They weigh 500 pounds just when they hit the ground. Why do you think the injury rate is so high in airborne and people that jump out of airplanes in the military? I can tell you why. Because the average deadlift in the military is around 250, and that's if you're lucky. And I'm actually probably giving you a few pounds. Point being is, you're dealing with twice the amount of force when you hit the ground than you're strong enough to handle. That's a huge problem, and that's where the injury rates become so high. So just think about all that kind of stuff before you start realizing that maybe cardiovascular training isn't super important. It is. You got to have it, but how we create it is huge. The big thing is that we have 3 major energy systems in the body. We have ATP PCR. What does that mean? That means bam, it's over. 1 rep max. Anything probably under about 10 seconds, the ATP PCR system is going to primarily take most of that task, okay? The glycolysis system is that anaerobic threshold capacity, right? You do something for a minute, up to 3 minutes, it's burning so bad you want to puke. That's glycolysis system. And then the Krebs and oxidative cycle is meant to last an infinite amount, meaning that it burns body fat, it's done with storage at the cell. The point is that the Krebs cycle is meant to last hours and hours. So all of these work together, but there's a couple of them that are really, really important because of the amount of resistance that we're dealing with, both in patients and equipment. And that are these 2 systems right here. We need to be explosive, we need to be powerful, and we need to be able to be powerful for an extended period of time. So in the fire service, what you have to realize is that for most of us, when they put the gear on and they're running the bottles, they only have anywhere from, depending on how hard they're breathing, 8 to 12 minutes on a bottle. That's about it in a real fire scenario. In the military, when they're carrying all this gear, in reality, in a real battlefield scenario, they're going to sprint to something to have cover, and then they're going to sprint again. They're not going to run in a straight line for 2 straight miles. You're going to sprint, hide, sprint, hide, sprint, hide. That's how we deal with modern warfare these days. So the point is that these two systems, if we look at specificity of the job, are going to be the primary importance. Plus, if you have a high level of glycolysis ability at your energy system and or you're able to deal with lactic acid at a high level, your body's ability to work through things that suck is very, very good. So what I like to focus on is these two areas and use the Krebs cycle and the oxidative cycle for mini workouts in order for us to just stay fit, burn a little bit of extra calories. But this is kind of why doing distance running and distance jogging and distance even walking is not going to be very conducive for military or fire service if we look at the job specificity. So how we attack the issue? Well, you got to remember that strength is king. Think about this. If I raise my maximum, then my sub-maximum ability increases. Let's look at an example. If I bench 300 pounds and I'm asked to do 225 or the NFL Combine, 4 reps, the 225 is roughly going to be 66% of my max already. Make sense? So when I go to bench 225 for reps, I'm going to fail theoretically faster than a person that can bench 500 pounds due to the fact that that sub-maximal weight of 225 is less, meaning that the percentage of my maximum is lower and my endurance at that particular weight is higher. Now, why is this important? Well, if your maximal squat goes up and your maximal deadlift goes up, when you lift the equipment that you have on, plus an external body, a piece of equipment, machinery, or a person, if it's less or further away from your maximum capabilities, you're going to be able to move faster, longer. Make sense? So if I move my maximum strength, it's an easier way to get my 225 rep test up. If I raise my maximal strength in the squat and the deadlift, it makes it easier for me to lift a patient, person, or piece of equipment much easier because it's not as close to my maximum capabilities. This is something that gets very confused and people don't understand, but is super important that maximal strength rises. Now, there's a couple of other key benefits for the military and fire. If we look at military and fire as a injured personnel, we're going to look at skeletal muscular injuries and things that we can fix. Lifting heavy weights properly increases soft tissue density, ligament and tendon density, and bone density. So when you increase maximal strength, you increase bone density, ligament and tendon density, joint resiliency, and all these things. So that reduces injury rates, makes you be able to perform better and harder without the increase of injury. And that's something that endurance training just will not do. So one of the major components of being a great tactical athlete is to have mastery over the glycolysis energy system. One way to attack that is to utilize a winning warm-up, okay, which is where we're going to pick 3 different exercises and do them in a circuit-based motion with no rest. We're going to maintain them each at 4 sets of 25. The reason that we do 4 sets of 25 reps is we force the intensity to drop and the volume to increase. Now what that does is it starts putting emphasis on the glycolysis energy system, because if we are moving constantly for about 10 to 12 minutes, we are hitting maximum lactate threshold. We're dealing with muscles burning. We're dealing with the soft tissue getting more volume and intensity as far as volume is concerned, okay? So the point is that the winning warm-up is allowing the body to get lots of volume in a very quick, dense portion of the workout, therefore increasing fitness level without doing cardio. Now, what we pick is very, very important. So we pick one core lift motor pattern. If we're going to squat or deadlift or do something in that nature that day, we need to mimic that in the warm-up to kind of give the body the answer to the test before the test. We almost cheat the test. So if I'm going to squat, I will hop on a belt squat and I will do 25 reps, 4 rounds of a belt squat. That's teaching me to sit back and push out 100 times before I even do the lift. The next thing is I'm going to select 2 different weakness points, and these weakness points are going to be dictated by form. Meaning the last week that I did something, I'm going to be dictating and looking and being very stringent on my technique and saying, I think my hamstrings and my lower back need more work. So let's use that as an example. So I will do 4 sets of 25 of some type of hamstring curl, and I will do 4 sets of 25 of some type of lower back movement. Over time, what you will find by attacking a core lift and a motor pattern and 2 weaknesses is that your technique will actually become better because you're giving your body the answer to the test before the test. So what is the test? The test is the core lift. Okay? That can be a squat. That can be a deadlift. That can be anything of that nature. And if you want to do specifics, it could be as far as doing some type of a really heavy dummy drag or a tire flip. It can be anything that's close to maximum. The trick with the core lift is that it has to be under 5 reps. Why? Because in this system, we're attacking the ATP PCR, okay? Meaning that we need to have it short, strong, and hard. Now, the other core lift could also be explosive versus heavy, meaning that we could have different sides of the force equation come into that day, okay? Now, the last thing that we would attack, because we've attacked glycolysis, ATP, PCR, we've done this on a higher rep range to increase our aerobic capacity in order for us to kind of not have to do as much cardio. The next thing that we're going to attack is accessories. Now, accessories is the king of being able to reduce injuries. What does that mean? That means that accessories are based solely on weak points. So usually whatever we selected in the winning warm-up, we're going to do the same muscle groups, but we're going to attack them with something way harder. Now, for the tactical population, I like to use a lot of 1-minute sets, okay? So basically I'm going to pick a movement or an exercise and a weight that I can only go 60 seconds and I'm about to die, okay? Now this depends on if you need to be stronger or more in shape. So let's say this needs to be in shape more, right? So this guy is out of shape. So we're going to use 1-minute sets with the tactical guy. Now let's just say this guy's really fit, but he's weak. Now I'm going to keep everything between 8 and 12 reps. Okay? This is if I'm weak. So if I need to get in shape, then all my accessories are going to go higher volume. They're going to stay up around a minute. And if I need to get stronger because I have good endurance, but I'm not very strong, I'm going to make my accessories heavier and do 8 to 12. Now, depending on how much time you have, depending on how much fitness you have and how much rest you need, is going to be dependent on how many of these you can do. So unfit, okay, so I'm a beginning fire guy, 2 exercises is going to be all I can handle for accessories, okay? If I'm super fit, I might be up to 4 to 5 exercises because I'll be able to do those in circuits. So if I want to get in better shape, all you have to do is cut the rest periods down, right? If I can do a ton of work in 40 minutes where somebody else takes an hour and a half, I have to be in better shape to do that. And that's where tactical gets confused, because the problem is that with our average new school fire guy and new school military guy, or almost any tactical, you're carrying equipment, okay? And when you're carrying equipment, it's going to change how you have to train for that based on the fact that you're going to have glycolysis and ATP PCR. You're going to have the higher intensity energy systems to get better. The average walking isn't going to do. So if this is interesting to you guys, and I know that if you're watching this, you're probably a tactical athlete of some shape, way, or form, hop in on the website and grab the tactical manual where I go into deep cover on all this stuff. What to pick on the core lifts, what to pick on the winning warm-ups, what to do for accessories, and how to adjust those based on your needs, anywhere from beginner to SEAL team level.